Hello and welcome once again to the Healthful Roots podcast. Thank you for joining Dr. Victoria Andarcia. And today, the host of the show will be my beautiful sister, Christa Fassi, in a rare opportunity to see the behind the scenes MD. So, Christa, since you're going to be leading this, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wait, you didn't prepare me for that, Vicky.
That's okay. Well, then you can go into the questions if you feel more comfortable.
No, but like, what type of intro do I give? Like, what's my authority or background?
That you're marketing.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay, ask me again.
Okay. And since you are the host of the show today, Krista, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Vicky's little sister, Krista, and I work in digital marketing. And I'm a big fan of what Vicky shares. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, thank you for agreeing to do this. I'll let you take
Thank
can't
you.
handle on this right now.
Okay, well, we'll start with I think one of the questions that I thought was pretty cool, and it was, when did you decide to become a doctor or that you wanted to be a doctor? And do you think it was more for yourself or if there was someone in your life that led you down that path?
Okay, I wish my answer to this was a little bit more interesting, but I never really even gave it a second thought. At some point in childhood, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor one day, and then I did that. And then it wasn't until I got to a medical school, AUC, where I did medical school, where I was like, oh my God, I'm here. And then I thought about it for a second. I'm like, but why am I here? And I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really did like science. Found it very interesting. I don't think I was really influenced by anybody that I knew or anything growing up. I just think it was something internally I knew I wanted to do. And then my passion for it has evolved as I've learned more. I didn't end up doing what I thought I was going to be doing. I guess I would have fit into the traditional mold where you do residency, you pick a specialty, or you just do family medicine, and that would have just been it. But I was never really satisfied with that. And so I don't think I really felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing until I started doing integrative and functional medicine.
Yeah, I can agree seeing that for you too, because I feel like when you were in med school, there was a lot of different paths you were interested in, but none of them really ever stuck as like a specialty until you found functional medicine.
That's true.
Yeah. But what do you think, if you weren't a physician now, is there anything you feel like you would have been doing instead?
So there were two things in college that I was like, oh, I can like pause my life track of being a doctor to do. The first one was I wanted to be a chef. And I told mom that. And as you know, mom said that's a hobby, not a career. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I continued down the medicine track. But I did do a minor in anthropology, and I loved anthropology. I thought it was so interesting to learn about different cultures, how people lived, and when you didn't know what happened, to ponder what happened. So there was a moment where I thought, okay, I can do this. I can become a professor of anthropology, and then maybe be on the Discovery Channel, like doing excavations, so like all over the world. And that was also just really brief because then I was like, okay, like what are the chances that you make it that far in
Hmm.
anthropology? So I decided to make that a hobby as well.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think you would have been a really great chef, as good as you are a doctor. um, but outside of wanting to be a doctor from such a young age and kind of just having that pop up, what were you like as a kid? I wasn't really alive yet when you were really little, so what were you like before then? Um, and do you think
uh,
anything foreshadowed where you ended up today?
Maybe a few things. So I was very serious, not always good in school though. I really struggled in math a lot. That was awful for me. I did like reading. I loved reading, which would I would need that to prepare me for all the reading that you do in medical
Hmm.
school. So that was that. And then I did really like sports and like moving my body. I liked running. I liked playing soccer. I played tennis. I think also like the family that we grew up in helped because we did a lot of cooking at home, right? It was a lot of
Hmm.
like fresh ingredients, a lot of vegetables. Mom at one point started paying attention to like organic versus non-organic food.
Yeah.
So I think that probably shaped more like the integrative medicines stuff because I was already living like the lifestyle things that I teach my patients.
Yeah, I think about that too, that I'm glad to have that habit already from being really little of just cooking at home every day, and really like thinking about what you put into your body. So I feel like that helps a lot of people to start that young. And so, besides being a doctor, there's a lot more to you. So, what do you think makes you feel most like you when you're not in your wearing your physician cap?
Things that make me feel more like me. Spending time at home with my pup. I think she's
Hmm.
very grounding for me. Obviously, like I love my family too, but being with a dog is
Yeah.
very grounding for me. I love spending time with my friends and with my family. I think that's very important to me. Uh, and what else? I mean, I don't have like a ton of free time, I would say, but when I do, it's directed towards exercising, being outdoors, or just spending time with like people that I care about.
And reading.
Oh, and reading. I love reading,
Yeah.
but it's sometimes medical and a lot of times not. I use reading like to escape real life.
Yeah. That's valid. And then in your day to day, what do you think is something or things that outside of, I think working out is a big thing for you, but maybe besides that and outside of work, do you really enjoy doing when you're not being productive, if that makes sense?
Okay. So things that I like, but that I'm not doing as much of right now. Love dancing. I
Mm-hmm.
find dancing to be a very good outlet for me, whether it's taking a dance class or just going dancing like randomly. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I really do like listening to live music or anything like arts related, like going to a good museum, listening to a live band, whether it's like an orchestra or at a bar. Like I just love live
Mm-hmm.
music. And yeah, I would say any opportunity to go and be outdoors. Like yesterday, Zena and I went to Celery Fields for a walk after work. And I was just like, wow, like how lucky am I that I can go and do this after
Mm-hmm.
work? I
Yeah.
find that's like, if I have time to do that during the week, it's a highlight.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the sun setting so early. So it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to find the time to do that now. For sure. Um, well, I feel like I'm just like going through all the questions really fast. Am
That's
I
okay.
like going too fast?
No.
I feel like we're already at like minute 10 and we're like flying through.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Maybe it's just a short interview.
Well, okay. Okay. Um, I like this one, but okay, so I'm trying to think of how to phrase the next question though. So, if you could go back to yourself at any age, and you could, or multiple ages, I guess, you when you were little or in med school or high school, whatever it is, what would you tell yourself and why?
Okay. So I think the advice that I needed to hear would have started in college.
Hmm.
And I think that would have been one, like everything's going to be okay. Two, you need to have more fun because I think like I sacrificed going out with friends and like doing things that I enjoyed because I was so fixated on like my end goal of going to med school. So, I mean, I love my friends dearly, but they laugh because a lot of their memories or core stories, like I'm not in it because I was at home
Hmm.
studying. Right. So I would have told myself that it's okay, like to have fun because I don't think that like what are they, burning the midnight oil or the midnight candle, whatever the expression is,
Hmm.
uh, really was what got me into medical school. I probably would have gotten into medical school anyways. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something you've mentioned too, since like you once I had like me and my friends were going to school and had friends that were interested in like a similar path as you. Something you shared was you didn't even you probably could have focused or majored in anthropology or something else that wasn't
Yeah.
biology and still gone to med school, which I didn't know was an option or something.
Yeah. Because if I had just I wish I had done it the other way. I wish I had majored in anthropology and then minored in, whatever, and gotten my core classes that I needed for medical school, because it still took me longer to graduate from college anyways.
Hmm.
So it took me like a 2 semesters extra. So I don't know that it really would have made a difference, and probably would have made me a more interesting candidate because I would have picked something that I actually loved versus picking something that I thought I had to pick to get into
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. Like, one, it's not something you would have expected, but it's something, yeah, I feel like more people should know, especially wanting to go to
Yeah.
med school. Um, well, then I guess besides yourself at that age, if there's something or tip you could give to women in their 20s, I guess early 20s, and then maybe women in their early 30s, what is something that you wish they understood about their self worth, their success, and maybe health as well?
Okay, so for early 20s, I would say almost related, not quite, but I'll circle back, is if you have an opportunity to travel, do it, right? Because I think a lot of people wait. I can think of just, some of my friends until like they have the career or they have a thing or for things to be perfect to do certain things that they wanted to do, especially travel. And then they got married and they had kids and they don't get to do those trips that they wanted to do. But I think traveling is so important because you're learning about other cultures, you're experiencing new things. And I think if you're interested in that stuff, it could be so fun and it could
Hmm.
be life changing, really. So I would say to put yourself out there more because I also know women who don't do things because they're scared,
Hmm.
right? Remember when you traveled abroad,
Yeah.
how scary that was for you at the beginning?
It was more scary because of COVID and not knowing how it was going to be. I guess I thought more like my experience would be hindered by it, but it really wasn't. And then the first time I did a solo trip was scary for sure. But I
Yeah.
think seeing you as like a role model for that was helpful. I don't
Yeah.
think I would have studied abroad as I did if it weren't for your med school experiences being abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and how much do you think you would have regretted not going? Like just when your friends came back and they were like, "Oh my God, we did this and all that."
Wait, you froze.
I said that would you have regretted not going when you're like hearing
Oh
all the
yeah.
stories from your friends after?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I was really happy that I got to like see a bunch of different places at that age that I didn't have like the stress of timing and like
Yes,
PTO. It was really nice to be able to do that for sure.
exactly. So I think that that's the
Yeah.
main thing. I think that traveling is huge because I did the 2 years on St. Martin, which is an island, and then I did my third year of medical school in England. So when I was in England, I was traveling a lot. So I think that that's really important. Also, it gives you confidence, right? Because you said
Hmm.
you did your first solo trip. I did my first solo trip in my early 20s, and it was like one of the best trips I've ever taken. So,
For sure.
okay, so that, and then if I had to give women in their early 20s some other advice, it would be, just keep learning, right? There's like so much uh, to do, so much to see, so much to learn. Like, just don't cap yourself wherever it is that you end when you finish
Hmm.
college, or if you're going to college. And then for the early 30s, I think it's more, I love that transition from the 20s to 30s because when you're in your 30s, you start to give less F's, right, about things. You're more confident and more reassured in yourself. So for my 20s, I would say stop people pleasing. And your 30s, you're going to stop doing that less. Or, yeah, you're going to do that less. And then for my women in my 30s, I think it's really important to start focusing on like yourself, who you want to be, and health, right? Because I think I know I'm a doctor, but I'm looking at the lens of like your 30s is really when you get to decide how you want to live the rest of your life, right? So if you're eating poorly, you're not exercising, like that's really going to affect you in your 40s and 50s.
Hmm.
So I think that 30s is where you need to start thinking like, how do I want to live the rest of my life?
Hmm.
Because that's preventative, right? It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to fix things when they've gone downhill, but you really need to start looking at that. I also think that, if you're struggling with your fertility or anything like that, like don't despair. I've had a lot of friends like freak out about whether they're able to have a baby or not. And I think that we need to worry less about timelines and just about like what's best for you.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I mean you've had friends that have had and you've had like people that have come to you with fertility stuff, and it's wild to kind of see how you turn that around for them, with just like food and eating,
Yeah,
changing
food
your
and
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not doing IVF. A lot of times it is just lifestyle related or stress related. I mean, you need to, I mean, I think that your body needs to feel safe to be able to carry a baby. And if you're running like on fumes and you're stressed all the time, that's not
for
really an
sure.
environment for that. But yeah, I think that I've always been someone who exercises and does things, but in my 30s, I've paid attention more to like, okay, how are these habits going to help or hurt me later?
Hmm. What well, what has come up for you around that?
Okay, well, that's a good question because the main thing I think has been stress, right? I I like grew up in like a stressful environment. Med school was stressful, and then residency was very stressful. And I think
Hmm.
that a lot of women that I see are also just used to feeling that stress and it just becomes normal. And then it's almost like we forget that that's not how we're supposed to live and like that we're not supposed to
Hmm.
be operating under that amount of stress. And one, it leads to anxiety, which I used to have, I don't have anymore. But two, it like burns you out. It can mess up with your hormones. I was at a point like very tired all the time, but like still going, just go, go, go. And then, I mean, obviously, there are seasons in your life where that needs to be the case, right? You got to hustle
Hmm.
to get to something
Yeah.
else. But I think the problem is when it's not a season and that's just your life. So I've had to really like unlearn, and you said it earlier, like unlearn the fact that like my worth is not dependent on my productivity,
Hmm.
because I think that I've seen that a lot too, not just in myself, but in my patients, where they're like, oh, I can't relax. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something all the time. And it really is tied to like, you know, maybe when you were younger, you know, your parents got mad at you if you were just like sitting around on the couch because there was other things that they wanted you to do or whatever it was, right? And you're laughing because
I
I
hope
mean, that's how
mom's not
our,
listening.
I mean, that's how our parents were, right? And so you're like, it feels unsafe to like relax.
No,
But
for
I really
sure.
had to, and I still have my moments, right? Like I
Hmm.
definitely still have my moments, but now that I'm not working in the hospital, it's like something I can definitely be like, okay, well, like I have time to do this, right? Like to just
Yeah.
chill.
Well, yeah. Like I think it for me for sure it comes from like childhood, not really like I don't know if naps were a thing for us, but that's okay. um but now like really giving permission to myself to rest and to kind of like be bored and find the
Yeah.
time to be bored and just like hang out. But what you were saying about like productivity, for sure, I feel like women especially, we have it with like our cycle and just we're more connected, I think, to the earth.
Hmm.
Um, we're much more like cyclical, seasonal beings.
Yeah.
So there are seasons like where you need to hustle or you have the energy to do that, and that's fine for you. But I think also taking the time to like have your little inner winter is super necessary as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even like when it comes to working out, right? Like I used to be
Hmm.
someone who was like, I need to work out 6 days a week and I'm going to do this and
Yeah.
that. And like I was like so hardcore about it and like very rigid. But
Hmm.
then I was like, but wait, like I'm actually very tired today. Nothing's going to happen
Yeah.
if I don't work out today. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right? So like I think there's so many ways that we just kind of sabotage ourselves, right?
Yeah. I don't know really where it came from, like the need to, I feel like we're all, it's just like our modern world needing to be like productive and have like a lot of output, but it definitely ends up hurting us more in the long run. I was going to say something though. But yeah, even like cycle syncing, we've talked about it before, like
Hmm.
just being like, okay, like I'm in my leading up to my menstruation, like I'm not gonna go to the gym and lift weights every day this week and then get my period. Like that's just not gonna work. So I think that's really helpful too.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, everybody's handles it differently and that's fine, but
Yeah.
just knowing that like you're allowed to step
Yeah,
back.
you're allowed to relax for sure. Interesting. And wait, I was gonna ask, one of the things you said before was you don't have anxiety anymore. How do you think you did that? Or like do you still get anxious? Like, how do you, what, I don't really
Well,
get.
here's the thing that I find. I think there's a difference between saying like I feel anxious in this moment
Hmm.
and I'm anxious
Yeah.
or I'm an anxious person. Okay, so I think we need to like define that because anxiety, having an like being anxious in a moment, like when I'm watching something scary, like Stranger Things with Victor, I can be like anxious in that moment, but I'm not
Yeah.
an anxious person
Yeah.
because I think it's like people really like start to identify with that. So I want to
For
like
sure.
clarify because I can still have moments where I feel anxious, but no, before I felt like it was like all the time, like every day I had a pit in my stomach. You know, I
Ooh.
felt like I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, because when something happened, I would have to like go to the bathroom immediately. And, you know, I made a decision in residency and I was like, okay, I can go see a doctor about this because it was starting to get disruptive in like my working life. And in residency, everything has to be perfect and you have to be on
Mm-hmm.
top of it. I was like, but a doctor's only going to tell me to take medication. And they're going to be like, you're in residency. Of course you're anxious. And I was like, I don't want to
Yeah.
take medication. So I started meditating. I started working with an energy healer who taught me about like protecting my energy and like things that I can do to soothe and like grounding practices. I think it took me about a year, but I think that between the meditation and working with her, it really made a huge difference to the point where I can't tell you, aside from when I'm watching like something scary or something on TV,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like I am
Have like
anxious.
anxious. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and in the
agree.
meantime too, like in between, I've also worked with like a therapist. I've like spoken to like multiple practitioners about it. So I think like talking about it helps, getting different perspectives on how people have dealt with it, but also just like doing that inner work. Because around that time that I was really struggling with anxiety, not only was I in residency, but I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life too. And I
Mm-hmm.
was ignoring the personal stuff. And I think like the anxiety was coming up as like, hey, you got to pay attention. Like something's
Yeah.
going on, you need to pay attention. But like if I hadn't felt anxious, I would have never stopped and been like, okay, like what's actually going on in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just kind of like a natural response to, I guess, war enough stuff. But that's interesting. I do agree with that. I feel like a lot of people, like, your words are powerful. So if you're like repetitively like, I'm an anxious person, that can really start to like weigh on you.
Yeah.
Um, but I do agree. Sometimes I'm anxious because of something going on that is valid that I'm anxious, or you're just like scared of watching something and I don't know what's going to happen. But I wouldn't say like I'm anxious either, like a person like that.
No. And if it comes up, you can be like, okay, well, like what's going on? If your heart's racing or your stomach feels weird, be like, wait, what's going on? And
Yeah.
then if you pause and then you're like, oh, and then you can be like, no, I don't really have to be anxious about that. That feeling can
Mm-hmm.
go away, but you have to pause and be like, okay, why is this coming up? This is weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Let's see. What other questions? Well, I think you don't really have a question on this, but I think maybe getting into like, have you spoken about like what was the point that got you to your fellowship and getting into integrative medicine and kind of how that unraveled for you?
Okay, so it was an accident because I was really frustrated in residency. I was getting like really upset because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not helping people in the hospital. And now I'm stuck here and I'm in debt. Like, what am I going to do? Because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to feel like I was actually making a difference. So I started Googling how do I talk to my patients about diet, nutrition, whatever. And then I saw something about the integrative medicine fellowship program at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I started like looking into that. I started listening to podcasts about it. And then they had this rotation was you go out there for a month and you can see a little bit more about integrative medicine. And it was for medical students and for residents. Luckily, my program was very awesome, FAU, and they let me go for the month. So I got to see like what integrative medicine was like. I mean, more than learn about integrative medicine, it was very healing for me to be there. Uh, I think it was like one of the most healing trips I've ever done. And when I came back, like people were even like, "Oh, you look so different." Nothing had changed except that I felt so much better, right? About like my career, about myself,
Yeah.
about life. So that's when I decided, okay, like this is what I want to do. So I did the fellowship right after I graduated residency and I was starting my new hospitalist job. And I did enjoy it, but I felt like it still wasn't, uh, like I knew the things, but I didn't know how to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't give you like a lot of like, okay, this is what's happening now, do this. So I was like, okay, I need a little bit more information. So I decided to do functional medicine, like their AFMCP course. So I did that. And then I just kept learning. through different providers. I kept learning and listening to podcasts and reading. And then during COVID, I got burnt out and I decided to do my own practice. And then I also, when I started the practice, the telehealth practice, I didn't know what avenue. I was like, oh, I could do gut health. You know, you can do Lyme disease. You can do so many things. So I hadn't really decided yet that I wanted to focus on hormones, but specifically women's health. And it wasn't until I stopped the birth control pill and I started like having horrible symptoms. My hair was falling out. I thought I was going to need a wig. And then I had acne. My periods were irregular. I was tired all the time. Like I depended on caffeine. I just wasn't feeling good. That I was like, okay, if I'm struggling and I'm a doctor and I don't know how to fix this, like what are other people doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I did a deep dive into like women's health and I started learning more about that. I sorted out my issues, like my hair grew back. And then my energy came back. And I mean, obviously that goes in waves depending on like what I'm doing in my life. But yeah, I regulated my cycles again after being on birth control for like 14 years. And I was like, I can do this. So I started working with women, and it was also like a little bit of trial and error. I learned a lot from my patients, and now that's what I do full time. But that was kind of the journey, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
always knew I wanted to do something a little bit more holistic, a little bit more lifestyle oriented. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And then, you know, integrative led to functional, and then from functional led to my practice, and then my own hormonal journey led me to wanting to work with women.
Yeah, I think it's crazy what you just said, that as a doctor, when you got off the pill experiencing those symptoms, you didn't even really know what to do. And I feel like I was on the pill for only like 8 months. And the reason I was put on it was just because I was losing hair. And they were like, okay, here you go. And so it's kind of crazy, like how we're not really taught the side effects or how it works or
No,
how to get
nobody
off
talks to you
it.
about that. No, and what's
Yeah.
crazy is that like I started going to portals like, you know, those messaging portals or those whatever where people are asking doctors questions, and so many doctors were like, "That's not a thing. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't get these symptoms from coming off the pill." But then you have all these women who are like, "No, like this actually has
Yeah.
happened to me." And then you're like, okay, so I learned more from watching YouTube videos on women who have come off the pill and what they did than anything that the doctors were saying, because it's a very dismissive thing, right? Like, oh, you're
Yeah.
just complaining or it's something else. It can't be that. So yeah, I think it's very horrible that we don't have conversations around why are you putting someone on the pill, right? If you want to be on
Mm-hmm.
the pill, I'm not hating on it for
Yeah.
contraceptive reasons. I think that's perfectly fine. But to put someone on the pill because they're having irregular periods, that's not fixing anything. Because they have acne, well, guess what? My acne came back when I
Yeah.
stopped the pill. Right, like you're not fixing anything. You're just putting a band-aid on it until the day this woman decides that she wants to come off the birth control. And then she gets to deal with that all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy. Mm, I was gonna ask. So you have a question here, like you help women return to their roots in health, and what does it look like for you to return to yours? But before that, what do you think? What would you say it looks like, or I guess how would you define like a woman returning to their roots when it comes to their health?
A woman coming back to her roots when it comes to health. The first is I feel like she needs to be educated on her body. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much mystery on like what's going on with their bodies. I think women need to feel validated in whatever that they're feeling. And it's what you said, right? It's like learning your own cycles because we ignore
Mm-hmm.
them. And then we come, you know, people come and see me when they've already like burned out or when something has happened. But if you learn to listen to your body, then I think you get there. So being able to listen to your body, knowing when something is off, feeling validated, like, okay, I understand that something's off now, right? Because a lot of people listen to like external and they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's in my head. It's not in your head, right? And then I think it's giving yourself permission to slow down, asking for help, not feeling like you have to do everything yourself, having like a solid understanding of what your body needs nutritionally, understanding how your body needs to move, because all of that is different. And I think that if you're looking at social media, then you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing HIIT. Oh, wait, no, I'm not supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be doing HIIT. Now I'm going to do yoga. No, yoga's bad. Now I'm going to do like Pilates, right? Like it's going to be like whatever is good for you. So I think it's just like understanding that and not really getting stuck in what other people are telling you to do.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I mean, that's kind of like what cycle syncing is like eating food that are going to nourish you for that stage you're in, but also changing your lifestyle to it and knowing like I'm around ovulation or follicular phase, like you can maybe work out a little bit harder and that's a good time to like push yourself more. But then as you're going closer to menstruation, it's time to slow down,
Yeah,
um, and support your body for that, like nutrient wise and eating. Because it's like a season cycle. So yeah. Well, what do you think for you it looked like, or it looks like, if you're doing that to
looks
return to
like.
your roots?
Yeah, I think I'm still in the process. So I got really burnt out, over the last couple of years because I was doing my own company, telehealth, Healthful Roots. I was working in the hospital, and then from July up until October, I was working three jobs because then I had
Mm-hmm.
started working here at Reveal Vitality, which I understood was a season. So I pushed through it, but I got really, really tired. So I think now, like, the season is me allowing myself more time. I mean, I'm still doing a lot of stuff, but like time to rest, because like this week has been a little bit on the slow side. And it's just like, okay, I am going to leave early and go on that walk with my dog, and like tomorrow it's like, I don't have to come to the clinic, I'll join the meeting online, like not feeling pressured to have to do anything and just like allowing myself more time. Like this weekend, I just want to kind of chill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more about just, I guess I'm having to go back and just learn that it's okay to relax and allow myself that time. So that's kind of where I am now. But I think like career wise, I'm really happy where I'm at. Like professionally, in my personal life, I'm very happy. So I think like things are like lining up. Now it's just like I have to like rest and recover from like the last few months.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like when you talk to a lot of like, I don't know, just talking to friends and stuff, you realize we're all in similar stages and a lot of us just kind of want rest.
Yeah.
I feel like this year's been pretty chaotic and I've had to learn, I feel like a lot of us have had to learn to say no and say like,
Yeah.
no, I need my time for myself and to do my own thing for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And like not feeling bad about it. I used to feel bad, like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe they want me in the office for the meeting. Well, I can contribute equally from the comfort of my home. I don't have to be here, like to drive in traffic and get here and then go back and walk the dog. Like there's just like no reason. But I think like if I was younger, I would just feel bad and I would be like, oh, they need to see my
Hmm.
face all the time. But it's just like, no, right? And you can say no. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And if they do care, then they don't need to be in your life.
True.
So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just kind of wintering, like you say.
Yeah. Well, we are heading into winter. And I was actually, that segues into my next question. So we just had Thanksgiving and we're heading into like the heavy holiday season. What are your suggestions and tips? What are you going to be doing? How are you protecting your peace this
Okay,
December?
I thought you were gonna ask me about the Christmas tree. That's still not up.
No.
I was getting ready for that. Okay, so going into the holidays, protecting your peace. Okay, carving out time for yourself because that's gonna
Hmm.
be hard, right? Like when it comes to, whatever you celebrate, it's gonna be like hardcore family time, and I think that you need to find ways to carve time out for yourself. If you exercise for mental health reasons, which everybody else should be, it's not a time to stop working out. I think that it's important to keep your routines, to keep you sane. And then I just feel like if you tend to get like really stressed out or reactive around family, I mean, I think you need to let things go more. Like obviously family can be triggering for some people, but like let things go, meditate, or just say like no to the people that are like bringing strife into your life. And then as far as nutrition, we don't have to eat all the sugary things, right? Like I think you gotta just everything in moderation, right? I think that we like overindulge during the holidays because there's so many Christmas parties and there's so many things and there's so many, so much
Hmm.
temptation everywhere. But like you don't have to eat the cookie just to eat the cookie, right? I
Hmm.
just think that you have to still pay attention to your health, because then, I mean, nobody wants to get to January and feel like, oh man, I just like gorged for 3 weeks and I don't feel good now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. I feel like this holiday season, I'm like, it's hard to take time for yourself because it's like your calendar's already fully booked.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on. So I'm kind of more tapping into like any, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be like a full day of rest, but just any rest I can get is enough. I'm just trying to take advantage of that. But I don't know if I'll be able to stop at every cookie. But I definitely think, like, for me, it's like I can also, not that I drink a lot in the first place either way, but like that's somewhere where I'm like, I feel like you can get out of control with that on the holidays with so many parties and stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's time to chill. I can take it easy.
Yeah, I agree. Like I used to when I was younger, remember like when Tia Monica would send those cookies, I would just like eat every cookie. I was like, I want to try every single one and I'd eat all of them. And now I'm like, no, I can enjoy one and then like let me have my meal. Like
Hmm.
like you can still have the things, just like in moderation, you can still drink, but also like you don't have to have like 5 beers. You can enjoy
Yeah.
like one or two and just like sip it slowly. Like there's definitely ways, and I agree with you. There's so much stuff on the calendar, but like we're going to Vegas next week for the A4M conference. Um, but that's why like this weekend, I'm like, I just want to
Yeah.
relax this weekend. I have like a really heavy day Monday and Tuesday next week. Wednesday's a little bit slower, and I'm like, great, I'll leave earlier. So like
Hmm.
I can pack and just like rest. And like there are like ways to do it. And like you said, it's not going to look perfect. Like in your head, you might be like, oh, for me to rest, it has to be like a full day and I'm going to just like lay on the couch and read and then I'm going to nap and then I'm like, it's not realistically, like it's
Yeah.
not going to look like that. So you just need to fit it in where you can fit it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was literally talking to Cheapy yesterday. I was like, I have so many things I want to do. I was like, I want to read all my books before the end of the year. I want to like keep studying my astrology. I want to do like the TBM challenge and all this stuff. I'm like, it's not all gonna happen. You got to just take it easy. So, like,
Yeah,
pick what I want to do.
that's true. Well, the next time that you
Yeah,
come on, maybe you can read my astrology chart.
hopefully, I'm like at that level then. But for sure. um, hmm. Well, I think you've kind of touched on this question, but like, if there was a time you were struggling internally and still showed up as a doctor, but I feel
Hold
like you've
on.
kind of
That's for me.
okay, heard.
Hello? Yeah. Oh, it doesn't say. Wait, tell me that again. So how much is Dr. Because you can go really high on that if you want to, but I normally tell people to take 5 milligrams. Um, but that's like 50 drops. 0.5. Hold on. 5 divided by zero point 0.5. Oh wait, 5 milligrams. So it's like 100 drops. So then how many drops are in the whole thing? That's stupid that it doesn't tell you. Maybe. Okay, I'll come up there in like a second and help you look. All right. Okay, sorry, Lisa.
No worries. Are you at the office?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were at home. I don't know why I thought that.
no. I'm going home after this.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I think we really only have, we did that question.
Well, you can ask me a wrap-up question.
What's a good wrap up question?
What are you most looking forward to for
Oh, yeah,
2026?
that's true.
All right,
Okay.
go for it.
Well, uh, what are you looking forward to most in 2026?
For 2026, I'm excited to get into more of a routine. I think like I stopped working in the hospital in October, and that hasn't really
Mm-hmm.
left me with a lot of time to like, and I have this new job, so I haven't really had a routine. So I'm excited to have that. Um, I'm taking a trip to England, so I'm excited for
Fun.
that. And then, you know, I'm really excited for having time. I used to travel so much for work that I always felt like I wish I had more time to see my friends. But
Mm-hmm.
there are friends I haven't seen in a long time I would like to make time to see. So I'm excited not to have to travel for work so that now I can travel to spend time with people that I miss.
Yeah.
Um, that, and then I think that's pretty much it. I'm just excited for a slower season and
Mhm.
to grow here at Reveal. And that's about it. What about you?
For 2026.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a slower season. Um, I traveled a lot this year, and I still have trips next year, but I'm kind of hoping to just also similar be at home and have a routine. Um, get a little more into the community here and like a new. I'm not that I just moved here. I moved here like over a year ago, but I feel like I didn't really have time this year to meet community and like find my places. So I'm excited for that for next year for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thank you, sister, for
thank you.
having time today to interview me. I hope that everyone enjoys this episode that was hosted by my beautiful sister, Christa.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I hope I did
Thanks.
good.
You did. You killed it.
Okay.